Every so often, a machine appears that challenges the entire industry. The truck you're about to see wasn't designed just to compete. It was built to prove the future looks very different. For decades, names like Ford and Chevrolet have dominated. But as the world moves toward electrification, traditional truck buyers are still looking for real-world reliability. Towing heavy loads and traveling long distances remain hurdles for many electric trucks. This is the exact gap where a new contender enters the story. The BYD Shark 6 is designed to stand next to the best American trucks. It's already proving itself across Australia, Southeast Asia, and Latin America in the most demanding environments. The Shark 6 isn't just another pickup, it's a disruption. Stay tuned as we see if this global powerhouse will officially reshape the American road. Subscribe for more. A pickup built around a new hybrid architecture can potentially outperform, out-equip, and outvalue many traditional trucks currently available. That idea alone is forcing buyers to ask a new question. Not whether the truck is good for a Chinese vehicle, but whether it could simply be a good truck, regardless of where it was engineered. And that shift in perspective is exactly why the Shark 6 is attracting so much attention, because many truck buyers care less about where a vehicle comes from and more about what it can actually do. They want genuine off-road capability, strong towing capacity, real comfort for 5 passengers, and a powertrain that doesn't force them to choose between efficiency and performance. For those buyers, innovation is more important than tradition, and when you stand in front of the Shark 6 for the first time, it becomes immediately clear that this truck was designed to challenge the assumptions that have defined the pickup industry for decades. When you first walk up to the Shark 6, the immediate impression is scale. This isn't a compact truck dressed up with aggressive styling tricks to appear bigger than it really is. The proportions reveal something very different. This is a full-size machine with the physical presence buyers expect from a serious pickup. Measuring 5,457 millimeters in length, or roughly 214 inches, the truck sits firmly in the same territory occupied by many full-size American pickups. Compared with mid-sized trucks like the Toyota Tacoma, the difference is noticeable immediately. The Shark 6 simply occupies more road. It doesn't feel like a vehicle trying to imitate full-size proportions. Instead, it carries the dimensions and presence of a legitimate full-size pickup from the moment you see it. The model shown here is finished in a deep stealth black color that shifts subtly depending on the lighting, sitting somewhere between midnight and obsidian. At the front, the fascia immediately communicates that this is not a conventional gasoline pickup. The design is angular and confident, centered around a wide closed grille panel. The closed grille design isn't simply an aesthetic choice. It reflects what's happening beneath the surface, quietly hinting at the technology underneath. The BYD pickup's modern identity starts with its sharp lighting signature. Full LED headlights and a clean horizontal light bar emphasize its wide, confident stance. It's a functional working machine with a wide, flat hood and muscular fender flares that signal off-road capability. Underneath, 20-inch gloss black alloy wheels are wrapped in all-terrain tires for maximum durability. A subtle blue peak from the brake calipers reminds you of BYD's signature electric heritage. The bed is factory spray-lined for heavy use, with integrated lighting for low-light tasks. At the rear, the full-width LED taillight bar makes it instantly recognizable at night. It's a true blend of modern design and practical utility. All of these design elements come together to deliver a vehicle that doesn't borrow heavily from the styling language of American competitors. Instead of copying familiar shapes, the Shark 6 introduces its own visual identity while still respecting the proportions and durability expected from a serious pickup truck. But the real story of the Shark 6 isn't only about how it looks. The design gives the truck presence, but the engineering underneath is what truly separates it from almost every pickup currently on the market. BYD built the Shark 6 around a platform called DMO, which stands for Dual Mode Off-Road. At first glance, that name might sound like another marketing phrase, but the architecture behind it is actually very different from what most truck buyers are used to. This system was developed specifically for pickup trucks and off-road vehicles, and it represents one of the first hybrid powertrain layouts designed from the beginning to handle the demands of towing, rough terrain, and long-distance travel. To understand why this matters, it helps to look at how electrified trucks currently work in the American market. Most manufacturers have taken one of two approaches. The first is the fully electric model, like the Rivian R1T or the Ford F-150 Lightning. These trucks deliver impressive power and smooth acceleration, but they introduce a new set of questions for buyers who rely on their vehicles for heavy work. Range can drop significantly when towing large loads, and long road trips often require careful planning around charging infrastructure. The second approach is the mild hybrid system used in some traditional pickups. These systems add small electric assistance to improve fuel efficiency slightly, but they rarely transform how the truck actually performs. For many drivers, the experience feels almost identical to a standard gasoline drivetrain. The Shark 6 follows a completely different philosophy. Instead of choosing between electric power or combustion power, the DMO platform combines both in a way that allows each system to focus on what it does best. At the center of the system is a 1.5-liter turbocharged petrol engine producing about 135 kilowatts of power. But unlike traditional trucks, this engine does not directly drive the wheels. Its primary job is to act as a generator, producing electricity that feeds the battery system. The actual propulsion comes from two electric motors. One motor is mounted at the front, delivering roughly 170 kilowatts, while the second motor sits at the rear, producing around 150 kilowatts. Together, they create a genuine electric four-wheel drive setup capable of delivering power to both axles instantly. When combined, the total system output reaches about 321 kilowatts. In American measurements, that translates to roughly 430 horsepower and approximately 479 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers place the Shark 6 directly within the performance range of many powerful full-size pickups. But raw numbers only tell part of the story. What makes the system interesting is the way electric motors deliver torque. Unlike combustion engines that need to build revs before reaching peak power, electric motors provide maximum torque immediately from 0 RPM. That means the truck can respond instantly when the driver presses the accelerator. In real-world driving, that instant torque changes the character of the vehicle. Acceleration feels smooth and immediate, especially when pulling away from a stop or climbing steep terrain. For a full-size pickup, equipped with all-terrain tires, the performance figures are surprisingly quick. The Shark 6 can reach 60 miles per hour in roughly 5.7 seconds. To put that into perspective, the Ford F-150 Raptor, equipped with a twin-turbo V6, completes the same sprint in around 5.5 seconds and carries a starting price near $78,000. The Ram 1500 TRX can accelerate even faster, but it also costs well over $100,000 and consumes fuel at a dramatically higher rate. Meanwhile, the F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid reaches 60 in about 6 seconds with less total output. The Shark 6 places itself directly in the middle of that performance conversation. It delivers acceleration comparable to performance-focused trucks while relying on a hybrid architecture that aims to improve efficiency at the same time. That balance between performance and efficiency is exactly where the DMO system begins to show its real advantage. Because the petrol engine functions primarily as a generator, the truck can operate in pure electric mode for certain distances, allowing quiet operation with zero fuel consumption. When the battery level drops, the engine automatically activates to recharge the system while the vehicle continues moving. The driver doesn't need to stop and wait at a charging station during a long trip, and the truck can continue operating as long as there is fuel in the tank. At the same time, the electric motors remain responsible for driving the wheels, delivering smooth power, and maintaining the benefits of instant torque. This combination effectively blends the strengths of both technologies while avoiding many of their weaknesses. For drivers who depend on a truck for real work, that approach could represent a very practical solution. What makes this system particularly interesting is how it changes the daily experience of owning a truck. In a fully electric pickup, the biggest concern often appears the moment a long trip or heavy towing job is planned. Drivers begin calculating charging stops, waiting times, and how range might drop under load. With traditional gasoline trucks, the opposite problem appears: strong range, but significantly higher fuel consumption, especially when the truck is used frequently for work. The Shark 6 attempts to sit directly between those two worlds. Because the petrol engine acts as a range extender rather than the primary source of propulsion, the truck can operate quietly on electric power during lighter driving conditions. In urban traffic or short-distance commuting, the vehicle can move using only the electric motors, which means zero fuel consumption during that time. The moment the battery level begins to fall, the turbocharged engine activates automatically and begins generating electricity while the truck continues driving. From the driver's perspective, the transition happens smoothly in the background. There's no need to search for a charging station during a road trip, and there's no need to compromise range when towing equipment or traveling through remote areas. The truck simply continues generating its own electricity as it moves. This approach leads to an efficiency figure that stands out in the pickup segment. In mixed real-world driving, the Shark 6 is expected to deliver somewhere between 30 and 50 miles per gallon equivalent. For a vehicle of this size and capability, those numbers are dramatically better than what most traditional gasoline or diesel pickups currently achieve. For truck owners who use their vehicles daily for work, that difference can translate into significant savings over time. Fuel costs are one of the largest long-term expenses associated with pickup ownership, and even small efficiency improvements can add up quickly when a vehicle is driven thousands of miles each month. But the engineering story doesn't stop with the powertrain. When you step inside the Shark 6, the interior presents a very different atmosphere than many buyers might expect from a pickup in this category. Instead of the dark utilitarian cabin typically associated with work trucks, the interior is finished in bright white leather across nearly every seating surface. The effect immediately makes the space feel more open and refined. The front seats are both heated and ventilated, offering comfort across a wide range of climates. Multi-way power adjustment allows drivers to fine-tune their seating position, and the headrests carry the BYD logo stitched subtly into the leather. The design avoids unnecessary decoration while still communicating a premium feel. Blue ambient lighting runs along the lower sections of the doors, adding a soft glow inside the cabin at night. The color is not random. Blue is BYD's signature brand color, and its use here is subtle enough to enhance the atmosphere without becoming distracting. The dashboard centers around a large panoramic display system that stretches across most of the front cabin. On the driver's side sits a 10.25-inch digital instrument cluster that presents vehicle information clearly and cleanly. To the right, a much larger 15.6-inch touchscreen controls most of the truck's entertainment and navigation functions. One feature that immediately stands out is the rotating display mechanism. At the touch of a button, the central screen can switch between portrait and landscape orientation, depending on the driver's preference. It's a small piece of technology, but it highlights the company's willingness to experiment with features that feel modern without complicating the driving experience. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto come standard, allowing seamless smartphone integration without cables. Built-in satellite navigation is also included, along with 4 USB-C charging ports distributed throughout the cabin so passengers can easily connect their devices. The steering wheel follows the same clean design philosophy as the rest of the interior. Wrapped in white leather, with a slightly flat bottom, it includes integrated controls. These controls allow drivers to manage key functions without taking their hands off the wheel. The result is a cabin that feels modern, deliberate, and carefully designed. One of the areas where the Shark 6 begins to separate itself most clearly from traditional pickups is in the experience offered to rear passengers. BYD approached this part of the vehicle differently, and the result feels closer to a premium SUV than a typical pickup. When you open the rear doors and step into the second row, the first thing you notice is the seating angle. The rear bench is capable of reclining up to 27 degrees. This design choice is inspired by the type of seating found in business class airline cabins, where comfort during long journeys becomes a priority. The materials used in the rear seats continue the same white leather finish seen in the front row, maintaining a consistent visual theme throughout the cabin. The truck is not only capable as a work vehicle, but also comfortable enough for family travel or long-distance driving with multiple passengers. Another detail that reinforces this focus is the inclusion of individual entertainment screens. Rear passengers can watch media without needing handheld devices. While this type of feature is common in luxury SUVs and executive sedans, it is rarely seen in pickup trucks at this accessible price level. Between the rear seats, the center armrest hides a dedicated climate control tablet, giving rear passengers independent management of their settings. This means passengers in the back can adjust airflow and cooling levels without needing assistance from the driver or front passenger. Sound quality is handled by a 12-speaker Dynaudio premium audio system, known for producing high-end sound systems used in premium vehicles. The inclusion of this system in the Shark 6 signals a clear intention to deliver a refined and high-end in-cabin experience. The BYD Shark 6 creates a balanced sound environment where music remains clear and detailed even at higher volumes, while road noise is well controlled. Technology throughout the cabin feels modern but practical, with a rotating central display serving as the command center for all vehicle functions. Wireless, smartphone integration, and thoughtfully distributed USB-C ports ensure everyone stays connected and powered up on long trips. The Shark 6 challenges the idea that pickups must sacrifice comfort for utility, providing an environment that rivals modern luxury vehicles. But the big question remains for American buyers. When will it arrive in the United States? Official confirmation is still pending. While BYD has long-term ambitions for North America, entering the US market remains a complex challenge. Stay tuned for updates. One of the biggest challenges comes from current trade policies. Vehicles manufactured in China face import tariffs that can reach 25% or even higher when entering the United States. These tariffs significantly affect pricing and make it more difficult for foreign manufacturers to compete directly with trucks built domestically by American companies. For a pickup truck, the challenge becomes even greater. The American truck market is not only one of the largest in the world, it is also one of the most brand-loyal segments in the entire automotive industry. Buyers often stay with the same manufacturer for decades, passing preferences from one generation to the next. Ford, Chevrolet, and Ram have spent years building trust with customers who depend on their trucks for both work and daily life. Breaking into that market requires more than just competitive specifications. A new truck must prove that it can match or exceed the durability, reliability, and capability buyers expect. It must also offer a clear advantage that convinces customers to consider something different. This is where the Shark 6 becomes interesting. Instead of trying to copy the formula used by traditional American pickups, BYD approached the problem from a completely different direction. The company focused on building a hybrid architecture that addresses several issues at once: performance, efficiency, and driving range. The result is a truck that delivers strong power through electric motors while still maintaining the long-distance practicality provided by a fuel-powered generator. It avoids the range limitations associated with fully electric pickups, yet it also avoids the heavy fuel consumption typical of large gasoline engines. If the truck eventually enters the US market at the price levels suggested by its international sales figures, it could create a new conversation in the pickup segment. Early estimates based on overseas pricing suggest that the Shark 6 may arrive at a cost significantly lower than many performance-oriented American trucks offering similar power. Of course, pricing and timing will ultimately depend on how BYD chooses to approach North America. The company could decide to manufacture vehicles locally in order to bypass tariffs, partner with regional production facilities, or introduce the truck in select markets first before expanding nationwide. Until those decisions are made, the Shark 6 remains a vehicle that many American buyers can only watch from a distance. But the larger idea behind it is already influencing the conversation about what the next generation of pickup trucks might look like. For decades, the formula for building a truck has remained largely unchanged. Large engines, heavy frames, and steady incremental improvements define the segment. Now that formula is beginning to shift. Whether the Shark 6 eventually appears on American roads or not, it represents a clear signal that the future of pickup trucks may not belong exclusively to the manufacturers who dominated the past.